Hi, I'm Running Game Entertainment. I'm a 6-year Navy veteran, and I'm here with Stach. He is a former Juggalo, a current furry, and an ex-Navy soldier. Now, what you might be wondering, what is a Navy soldier? The Navy doesn't have a combat arms division. Well, one, we do have the Seabees, but two, that's just a fancy word for Marines. They love it when you call them that. And one thing that Marines absolutely love is when you refer to them as ex-Marines when they get out of the Marine Corps. That's their favorite thing. If you see someone wearing a Marine veteran hat, you should walk right up to them. So you're an ex-Marine. They're going to love it. They're going to appreciate the hell out of it. I already know I'm going to get comments about that. It's their favorite thing.
Start off
and by the way, that is the transition from Juggalo is to furry. Like when you're a Juggalo as a kid, you're a furry as an adult. I feel like that's a fair statement to make. If you want to see the video where we actually interview him about what it's like being a furry, I'm going to end up posting that on Runga Extra at some point. Quick apology, Stach's video cut out for... Stach's video cut out. I screwed up the recording of it, so for like the first 12 minutes of this, Stach does not have his webcam in it, so I'm just going to South Park Canadian him over here. But please, subscribe to this channel if you like this type of content. I do a lot of videos like this. I have several React videos on this. I also have my own stories that are about my life or about Stach's life, where he's told stories, or other people have come on and told their own military stories that you can check out there. So if you like this type of content, subscribe, check out some of the other videos. But we're here to watch Mikeburnfire's No More Tanks video, specifically because Stach here was an amphibious assault vehicle crewman when he was in the Marines. Now that he's an ex-Marine, he used to be an amphibious assault vehicle crewman. Now he just puts test tubes into other things to science them a little bit, but not the science part. Anyways, that doesn't fucking matter. I'm going around. I'm just wanting to shit talk him. Okay, but we're gonna get here started with Mikeburnfire's No More Tanks. Now, if there's stuff that we don't have anything to say on, there's a few things I already know that I want to say with this, but if there's stuff that we don't have anything to say on, we might skip forward in the video. So from your perspective, we might skip forward. So there might be moments that you won't see, but that's just because we don't have anything to say. And I'm not just going to have like 5 minutes of someone else's video going if I don't have something to say about it. But here we go.
New weapons in the service.
Hold on.
M4. The way the burst mechanism works on the M16A2 and the M4 is really weird. Do new weapons in the service have the burst feature still? Is that still a thing? Okay, so the standard M4 still has burst on it. The M4A1 is full auto.
Yeah, the one I trained on did not have burst. It was full auto, and I talked about the story. I think I might have already posted this story, but we had a chief when I was going through combat school. We had a Navy chief in E7 that we called Chief Spray and Pray, because we were told the first day that we had the M4s, week 1 of combat school was combat first aid. You know, learning how someone gets shot in the chest, reinflate their lungs so they don't die as quickly, and shit like that. You know, tourniquet a wound off, all that different stuff. Basic, suppress the enemy, drag them behind cover, make sure they stay alive long enough for the actual medics, the actual corpsmen, to save their lives. And the second week was M9, and the third week was M9 and M4. And the first day of the third week, when we had our M4s for the first time, one of the instructors goes, "Hey, you are never going to actually want to do, unless you're really, really well trained and you're really good at this, which none of you ever will be, you don't really want to use your M4 in full auto. You empty the mag almost immediately. It's not, and you're not going to keep any amount of like accuracy on the target. But we want you to know what it feels like, so you're going to fire it once." So we throw it into full auto, we empty a mag real quick, and they're like, "Okay, never fucking do that again." And then that chief, the same chief who the week prior pulled me out of formation in front of a bunch of people that were junior to me and chewed me out for not shining my boots, because I was still wearing the NW Type 1s, which had the black boots, pulled me out for not shining my boots, chewed me out in front of a whole bunch of people because they weren't they were clean, but they weren't shined when we were in the middle of Gulfport, Mississippi in the summer when it was raining every day, spending 12 hours on the fucking range, getting covered in mud. And I hadn't shined my boots, so she chewed me out. That chief became Chief Spray and Pray that day because she could not figure out how to put it in single fire and not full auto. So several times throughout any given day, we'd be like, "Okay, you're ready, and you could fire," blah, blah, whatever the fuck they ended up saying to us to tell us we can start our course of fire. And then you just hear at the very front of the firing line, "Chief Spray and Pray, go get another mag." Because she would empty her fucking mag, couldn't complete the course of fire. Anyways, Just want to
The
say that
standard
because
M4
fuck her.
has
Hate
burst
her.
on it. The M16A2 has burst on it. The M16A4 has burst on it. And then the M16A3 is full auto, but it has a fixed carry handle.
Okay.
So the A3 looks exactly the same as an A2, only it says auto instead of burst.
Which, the big reason for burst, from my understanding, versus full auto, is the fact that with an M16, it's 5.56. It's not that heavy of a caliber, but you go into full auto, your weapon's going to be up and over there, like, by the end of the mag. So you're not hitting the target. But burst, it's generally a 3-round burst. It's enough that you can keep it a little bit on target and get 3 rounds out real quick, so you're more likely to hit the target with those 3 rounds.
It also came around them including burst more so than fire, like full auto was. In Vietnam, they found that they sprayed a lot of bullets and it costs a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I ended up looking up at one point because I wrote a paper on this for like my American U.S. history class. I think the statistic was like 50,000 rounds per Viet Cong killed. Like we were expending like 50. Not to be fair, at the time we were as jungle warfare, we were loaded to the gills with like Mauduces and shit like that. But things that fire a lot of rounds really fast, and it's more about suppressing fire. But that's also just kind of the nature of warfare. People want to be like, oh well, why aren't they shooting more accurately? Why aren't they using less rounds to down these enemy combatants? When you're getting shot at, your goal isn't necessarily kill that guy. It's just get that guy to stop shooting at me so I can get behind cover, call in QRF, call in an airstrike. You stop caring about being the one to kill that guy, and you start just caring about that guy not killing you. So if you're firing like a wall of lead down range, that guy's going to keep his head behind cover, which means he's not shooting at you. I think Iraq, Afghanistan, the Operation Enduring Freedom, the whole Middle East thing, I think we significantly lowered the amount of rounds we're firing, but we also...
but more headshots.
Yeah. Well, that was a whole different thing. I think he has a story about that, about how the Marines actually got investigated because a weapon that they gave the Marines was so fucking accurate that they were just pinging people in the head. They were just doming people left or right. So they started being like, are they fucking capturing these dudes and executing them at gunpoint? Is that what they're doing? Or are they just that good? No, the Marines are just that good, dude. That's the one thing. Talk some shit as we want about the Marines. They're that good. They're just also dumb as shit.
I'm wondering if they're moving away from burst fire. Because we never...
And again, the main thing you're using full auto for isn't getting the guy downrange. It's suppressing fire. You're using full auto for suppressing fire, which trying to do suppressing fire with a 30-round magazine isn't easy. That's why you have saws. That's why you have squad automatic weapons. You have M240 Bravos. You have things like that are designed to be belt-fed. They're designed to have the ability to sustain suppressing fire for a period of time, not for like the 5 seconds that you would have if you were using a fucking M4 or an M16.
Yeah, the points to fill trousers of shit.
Yeah,
and people with holes.
Yeah, get those guys to stop shooting at you until someone better than you can take them down.
Use burst fire. Granted, I was never in a combat situation where I had to, but I trained my entire career on semi-auto. I probably feel most comfortable with semi-auto.
The Marines are/have switched to full auto ones, but that's only because they've basically started issuing the M27 to everyone. Everyone gets an M27 now, except for the people that get a lighter weight gun, and then they get M4s.
All right.
Yeah.
If I could be wrong on
On
that.
a note of that, also the M4 is given to like jobs and positions in the Marine Corps to where you're moving around more confined, tight spaces because the M4 is drastically smaller. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the reason we switched from the M16 to the M4 was we were doing more urban warfare. M16 has a longer sight radius, so and is generally accurate at a longer distance, but moving around tight spaces. It's one of the things. So go ahead, just for safety's sake, I'm emptying this.
I can't see your video, so I can't see what you're doing.
No, this is for the recording. This is for recording. But
I know.
You don't want to clear a room. Like you might, when you're shooting, you might punch out because accuracy, stability, it's good. When you're clearing a room, I'm using an M9 right now, but it's, you get what I'm saying. When you're clearing a room, you don't want to fucking punch out as you're trying to go through a doorway, because all you're doing is giving the guy that's guarding that room 2 to 3 feet of notice that you're coming in that fucking room. So you want short, you tighten up when you're getting into the room, you tighten up, you you cut the corners, you slice the pie, and then you punch out once you're like fully in the room and you're about to shoot somebody. You don't want to. So it's the same thing with the M4 versus the M16. One, the M16 is less maneuverable in close quarters combat. So you want something with a shorter barrel. You want something that you can keep tighter. The bullpups are great for that. But you want something that you can maneuver easily, but you also want something that's not going to stick out and alert the guy that you're coming in the room.
It also doesn't give a target for the guy that might be hiding around the doorway, something to grab onto.
Yeah. Remember, yes, very much. Also, but grabbing the barrel of a gun that's firing you're going to have a bad time, but the guy that is holding that gun's going to have a worse one. Remember the number one thing. Oh God, I always say this wrong. I always end up saying this backwards. The number one thing is slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and it's you don't want to be moving fast. You don't want to be trying to run through. You want to be methodical. But here you go.
But I'm pretty sure that the way that has now worked out is that all of the Marines get M27s because the Marines did Giga Brain move.
How so?
So the Marines had the entire time. Basically, you were in the reserves, and the entire time I was in the Army. The Marines had M16A2s and M16A4s, and then like some of the cool guys got M4s, and the Marines were really treated as a smaller U.S. Army.
Which is kind of the truth, like especially during Freedom and the entire concept, the time in the Middle East, the Marines were not doing necessarily what they were designed to do. There's 90,000 Marines, 100,000 Marines. There's more people that work for General Dynamics than there are in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
The Marines, at their conception, were the people that we put on Navy vessels that then and Navy vessels, sailors are at the time would be good at shipboard combat and ship-to-ship combat, but even not as good necessarily at shipboard combat because their primary thing was load the cannons, fire, sail, get invasive maneuver, shit like that.
Yeah, the Marines were basically used on the ships as hey, you know how to fight with ranged weapon on the high seas and unstable environments. Yeah. That was the whole Marine specialty was, hey, you're the designated ping that guy in the head dude.
Either that or the designated hey, we need to board this enemy ship. You're better at that. Grab your cutlasses. Marines use cutlasses too, not sabers, right? Or the Marines use a saber because the Army uses a saber, and that's still part of their dress uniform. The Navy has a cutlass as part of our chief and above dress uniform.
No.
Is yours
NCO saber?
Is it saber?
It's technically a saber, but the curvature of the blade is closer to a cutlass. So, like everything at the Marine Corps, it was basically, we're going to take all the cool shit from everyone else and just kind of slap it together.
But the purpose of the Marines was amphibious assault, ship-to-ship combat, boarding actions, and then amphibious assault. You're going into a location where you don't have a beachhead yet, where you don't have a base established, and let's talk about that's at the conception when we didn't have planes and stuff, but now it's with the planes and whatnot. You're going into an unfamiliar environment with low intelligence, low intelligence because they're Marines, but also low intelligence capabilities because we haven't properly illuminated the environment. We don't know what's going on there necessarily beyond what we had from sensors and shit.
Now the Marine Corps is just, hey, they got pretty good anti-air. Well, guess we're doing a beachhead.
Yep. The Marines are supposed to go into unfamiliar environment, secure the area. The CBs build a base for you because the CBs are the Navy Construction Battalion. They go into the Marines. They build a base. They secure it. You secure the environment. Once it's secure enough and safe, the Army comes in. They make things better, and the Marines fuck off to somewhere else, and they kill new people over there instead. They're not supposed to be Army-like. They're supposed to be amphibious. That's one of the reasons why it's one of the reasons why I think everyone but the Marines need to be on the same uniform because there's no reason for us to have so many different uniforms. One, it's just makes logistics worse, but two, why we're all wearing camis now, we're all wearing digis. It's what the hell. The Marines need their own special uniform because they need to feel like they're special. They need to feel like they're special because you can't get someone to do the stupid shit that the Marines will do in hostile environments if you don't convince them that they're better than everyone else. Also, you guys just got a better uniform, so it's I'm not gonna...
dude, at some point the Navy's gonna become the Space Force. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, if we were actually doing like alien combat, then sure, fine, whatever, that's cool. But also, like, spaceborne combat's not going to be anything like the way the Air Force flies or the way the Navy sails. So it's completely irrelevant. But yeah, no, they were going to get to the really smart thing that they did.
The first thing they did that was really smart was they went, hey, you know what? We really want to replace the M249. It's kind of a piece of trash, and we don't like it very much. You know, this magazine-fed light support weapon is a really cool concept. Why don't we go with that? And basically, the Navy was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Sure, why don't you do that? So they started replacing the SAWs, the M249s, with M27IRs, which is it's an H&K 416 with a slightly longer barrel. And after a brief period of time, they went, you know what? These things are good enough that we're just going to replace every gun that we have with the M27IR.
Damn.
So they did. They started replacing all of them with the M27.
Okay.
So
That's the thing too. Like, if there's a weapon that works and it's kind of a good all-arounder, then why not give everyone that weapon? And if you want it to be act more as a squad automatic weapon, if you wanted to act more for sustained fire, just have some that are converted to being belt-fed. You have a
What's scarier than one guy throwing 100 rounds downrange? Everybody!
Yeah, exactly.
Because they still had, like, M16A4s. They were using these beat-to-shit old M16A4s all the way until, like, 2014. So I'm sure they're...
The ones that they issued you guys were the ones that we trained on, but for us it was M4s by the time I was in there. And those things jammed like nobody's fucking business. Like,
I was... In boot camp, my platoon was the last one to actually use iron sights, so
we and through combat school we used iron sights. We weren't issued sights, which I have mixed feelings on that, because I like the idea of training initial steps on iron sights, but also if every weapon you're ever going to have is going to have an ACOG on it or better, then train on that. Because hold on, I'm going to have to restart stream. I have to restart the recording because I accidentally tabbed down, which means OBS decided to... Okay, sorry about that. It crashed because OBS likes to do that to me sometimes, but I don't remember exactly what we're saying. It took me a minute to fix it, but we'll move on from here. Probably does not matter all that much. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
They're still in service with the Marines. The Marines are still using M16A4s.
Sure.
They're just not issued as much, I think. So they went to M27IRs, which was like gigabrain move. The way that they finagled getting the money to supply everyone with M27s was such a gigabrain move. Because, like, the Navy doesn't want to give the Marines any money. Right. They want to spend the money on more boats.
Yeah.
They don't...
First of all, motherfucker, they're ships. The Army has more boats than the Navy. Because we have ships. Because we don't use boats. The Marines use boats. The Armies use boats. The only boats that, well, we do have boats, and technically submarines are considered boats, but the boats that we have more often than not are the amphibious landing vehicles that the Marines use. They just go on our LHDs and shit like that,
which are actually being phased out.
Are they phasing out the amphibious landing vehicles?
They're phasing out the AAVs, and they're going then for Bradleys. Bradleys, and I forgot what it is called, but it's basically a wheeled amphibious vehicle. Amphibious being that instead of having the actual jet propulsion where it's yay big, able to push roughly about like 100 gallons of water at a time through it, AAV could go like 8 miles an hour on the water. These things are more like going closer to 2 or 3 miles. But the thing is that it sacrifices being a major troop transport where the AAV you could cram maybe comfortably, gear and all, like 20 dudes in there, but we crammed like, I think the most I ever was on a vehicle, in my vehicle, we had like 30 dudes shoved in the back.
Yeah, because you said comfortably 20, but the Marines don't give a shit about you being comfortable. You're going to go die in a minute. They don't give a fuck if you have anything to complain about.
But yeah, these vehicles, it cuts down on the amount of troops you can have in the back, so it goes from like 20 to maybe like, I think a squad or two. And instead of having a turret where you only had a 50 cal and a automatic grenade launcher, I forgot the fucking actual number of it and all.
Yeah, I forget the designations for shit all the time anymore because it doesn't really matter.
It's an automatic grenade launcher, and it's 50 cal in the turret. Instead of having a turret with that, they then have one that, if I remember correctly, it's like 12 or 14 millimeter gun.
Mm.
So basically, they swapped it out for that, and then on top of it, you got the little remote control Gatling gun shit.
Yeah, and honestly, that does kind of make sense because I had a knee jerk reaction to that when you said they're getting rid of the amphibious assault vehicles for Marines. I was like, that's what Marines do. It's amphibious assault, but we don't not really anymore. It's less amphibious assault now. I mean, that you guys do get on Navy vessels and you help us with VBSS missions, visit, board, search, seizure, and drug interdiction and stuff like that because that's what you guys do best. But like more so now, you're the vanguard, you're the first people in, but we have planes, we have C-130s, we have other ways to get you in country than landing from a ship to the shore. So amphibious assault isn't necessarily as necessary in these sort of environments that we're fighting in.
It's also the thing that they went through like 4 or 5 different iterations of different things, like the Endeavor assault vehicle and other stuff like that, where they tried, and each one had something that failed with. The Endeavor was an amazing like fuck up because I got to see
wait, was amazing what?
Is an amazing fuck up.
Okay.
So it's the whole over-engineered design was when it got into the water, the tracks themselves would retract up into it to where it had a streamlined actual like profile underneath, and then it had a sled that would slide up in the front versus instead of the bow plane which would raise up on the AAV. So it basically over-engineered the shit out of it. The whole reason why they scrapped it was...
Don't you want the sled to rise up because that almost acts as an extra bit of armor if you're getting shot at?
Well, the whole bow plane, when it would raise up and everything, you'd basically be like this looking over it, and that's the driver. So it still had some coverage. But the thing is that this one was hydraulic where it literally just slid right up in front. And on top of that, the fact that the tracks actually fully, the whole assembly retracted upward. The issue they had and why the Endeavor assault vehicle got scrapped was because the hydraulics kept fucking up to where, like, coming into, like, you come into the beach, you're going to essentially lower the tracks and everything, so when you actually hit that sand barge and everything, to be able to start driving and everything going up towards the beach. But because it was hydraulics, and with everything with hydraulics, shit is going to go wrong. It was only at some points one track would drive. So now you have this thing like this, and it just kept happening. So they said, nope, screw that.
Yeah.
The other ones, it was just other little things, always hydraulics, though. It was always over-engineered hydraulics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the military tradition, and this is like a German tradition, especially like World War II time period of, we're going to engineer the fuck out of this. We're going to make the coolest, most badass thing that every kid on the playground is going to think is going to be the best thing they could have. And then it's going to fucking break. We're going to spend a lot more money than we need on this, than we should. And then they're going to break more times than 10, because the more moving parts you have, the more engineering you have into it, the more likely something can go wrong. If you have 50 points of failure, you have 50 opportunities for something to break.
Oh, not only that, but then you also incorporate into it the actual man hours that you need to maintain everything. The more complicated, the more hours you got to put into it. You drive
Tiger
for 1 hour.
tanks were a really, really cool idea. They tried to ford rivers and they drowned. They tried to go into Russia and they sunk into the mud. They tried to just kind of go from point A to point B and the axles broke. They had this incredibly expensive, incredibly heavily armored tank that like could take a lot of a fucking beating if you didn't hit it in like one of its few weak spots. Could take a lot of a beating. Was so incredibly unmaneuverable that the cheap Russian tanks that they were just, pushing out would just literally run a circle around them and then shoot them in the ass. And they couldn't do shit about it. It was a really good idea until you get into practice. This is what happens when you have people that like haven't served designing military equipment. They don't.
Oh, it always does.
Yeah, you need a monkey with a sledgehammer test that. You need to hand a few Marines the toy, and then tell them break it and see how long it takes. If it takes the Marines a full day to break it, it's probably going to be fine. If they come back an hour later and it's broken, fix it.
Give the money to the Marines. Marines. Fuck off. Go away, Marines.
Always like pulling teeth.
That's the other thing, too. I get why you guys are Department of the Navy because of the history of it and because of the fact that we work together a lot. You guys end up on our ships a lot. But why are we in charge of your funding? Like, that shouldn't be the case. Like, because the Navy mission doesn't really coincide with the Marine mission half the time.
What they did was, well, we want to replace the 249 with a lighter weight weapon. And then once they had replaced the 249...
It also replaced the.
And they just then started using it to replace everything else because they were like, yeah, well, also our M16A4s are beat shit, so give us new ones. So yeah, now they're getting a lot of really cool shit. And like,
can the M27 do double duty? Can it replace the M249 and the M16?
So not.
I'm gonna do something real quick because I want
double duty. Can it replace the M249 and the M16?
So not really. It basically gives everyone in the squad the ability to provide suppressive fire for a short period of time.
Because they all have full auto.
They're
not belt fed, are they?
No, they're magazine fed. But what you're doing is generally you can give everyone in the squad a large capacity magazine. So like a Magpul D60 drum magazine, or like one of the Surefire 40 or 60 round magazines, or even like the Magpul 40 round magazines, because that's kind of about as long as you want to make an AR magazine and have it still function.
Yeah.
So in the event that you take contact and you need to lay down suppressive fire and break contact and reposition to a more advantageous location, anyone in the squad can now lay down suppressive fire so that the rest of the squad can maneuver and move. So instead of having one dude with a saw, you now have the entire squad has the option.
Well,
also, I imagine this is so much more effective for being able to create an effective kill box. If you have everyone is capable of putting out a wall of lead at a moment's notice, then it would be really easy to set up ambushes. It would be, or not really easy, but it'd be easier to set up ambushes. It'd be easier to set up kill boxes because everyone has the same capability. Everyone could put that wall of lead in within that, intersecting fields of fire and solve that problem. Whereas if you only have one guy that can do that, you have to optimally place that one guy to properly funnel people into the kill box.
Yep.
And then you might not have him in the kill box. He might be trying to funnel people into the kill box. He might be the one that's pushing them in a direction. Because I'm thinking urban warfare. He might be the one trying to push them in that direction, but then once they're in the kill box, yeah, you have a few people that might have the ability to go full auto, but maybe not have the same level of capability as everyone else.
It sounds very versatile now.
It is incredibly versatile. It's actually really smart. It's really cool. Yes, you are losing the ability to lay down sustained suppressive fire, but you are gaining the ability for anyone in that squad to lay down suppressive fire.
And that's also just communication. Yeah, you communicate with your squad, like, okay,
contact right, contact left,
yeah, and then let them know, like, okay, almost do old school, musket things of, okay, we got Timmy and Jimmy laying down suppressive fire, and then they communicate when they're needing to reload, when they're about to run out, when whatever. And suppressive fire, you're not doing pull back on the trigger and empty your magazine. You're doing sustained bursts of fire in that direction, because you just hold down that trigger, your magazine's going to be empty in like a second or two. But sustained bursts of fire, and then you communicate, and then the next guy do it, and you take turns, kind of thing, reloading and whatnot. Also, real quick to reload anything that's magazine fed. Anything that's magazine fed does not take super long to reload. You hit the mag release, you put in another magazine, you chamber the round. Let's go.
Yeah, whereas being belt fed, you gotta open it, clear the tray.
It's a pain in the ass, yeah. It's a whole thing, and just heavy.
I think it's really neat. There's arguments to be made for both sides for having a belt-fed squad automatic weapon or having a magazine-fed light support weapon. There's arguments to be made on either side. I'm not saying that one is inherently better than the other one.
I got to imagine, though, that the Marines still have a guy that has a saw.
I forget what year.
Oh, of course.
A couple of years back, the Marines went, we're getting rid of all of our tanks. No more tanks.
There you go.
Really?
We're done with tanks. We're not having them anymore.
Because, again, why would the Marines have tanks? That's not your fucking job. That is the Army's job. The tank is a slow-moving, heavily armored vehicle that is a battlefield amplifier. It's a force amplifier. That's what it does. The Marines are a fast-moving, versatile assault force. Bradley, sure. Any sort of like armored personnel carrier makes sense because you need to get a bunch of people from here to there quickly and safely. But a tank isn't, it's going to do the safely part. It's not going to do the quickly part. That's not your job on the battlefield. That's not your role. Why do you have tanks? Have the army do that.
If anything, we should have like some form of necessarily, if we went design wise, go back to tank destroyers, because tank destroying APC or armored personnel carrier of some sort would work, because it's like, okay, where are you going? Straight ahead. Where's the danger? Probably straight ahead.
Yeah. And your job is to go into the environment where the enemy might have tanks. You need something that can take that tank out just in case. Your enemy might have fortifications. You need something that can handle those fortifications. You don't necessarily need those fortifications yourself because you're on the move. You're not. Yeah.
And everyone, myself included, was like, that is the dumbest decision I have ever heard. That is incredibly stupid. Why would you get rid of all of your M1 Abrams? This massive force multiplier that can do so much. Here's the thing about tanks. Tanks are fucking expensive.
Yes.
And fucking heavy. And you need a really big logistical support structure to continue maintaining and delivering them.
Fuckers like to break.
Supplying them with ammo and fuel. And they don't really go well with an amphibious combat force.
Also, the Navy was probably super happy about that, because that means you weren't putting your tanks on our ships, because that is the Marines don't go on Marine ships. They go on Navy fucking ships. They go on like LHDs and shit like that. So now we don't have to hold your tanks for us, and we don't have to have entire like vehicles that are just meant to go. Well, the LHDs are designed to be able to operate like in shallow water, so they can. Well, a lot of them are like old fucking like World War II era aircraft carriers that we just converted into, here, your Marines, you can use this. But like they're designed to be able to go into more shallow waters. That way you can drop the ramp and you can start unloading the Marine vehicles from the ship. But that means they have to be able to go into very shallow water, but that also means a lot of times we have to have a vehicle that transfers that Marine vehicle from the ship to the shore. And that's just an extra piece of equipment that has to be maintained just to get your other piece of equipment that you're actually going to be using to a point where you can fucking use it.
It's a giant nesting doll of fuckery.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Marines are just the rushing nesting doll of the military. That's what it. You got the Marines, and the Marines are already a part of the Department of the Navy. You don't have your own fucking department, so you're already within one rushing nesting doll. And then we put you on LHDs, which are a naval vessel. So that's another rushing nesting doll. And then you have to take your
Navy vessel on a bigger naval vessel to get it there.
Well, no, the LHDs are their own fucking. They're just old aircraft carriers a lot of times, but. We put the Marines on there. Okay, cool. But the Marines need your equipment, including your vehicles. Okay, cool. But you can take an LHD to relatively shallow water compared to like an aircraft carrier or a destroyer. But it's still a lot of times not shallow enough to disembark a whole fucking tank, because that tank's what, like 10 feet, 12 feet high? You're not getting even an old aircraft carrier into a 12-foot shallow area, especially if it's fully loaded down, because it's going to be riding lower in the water. So you still need a vehicle. So we put the Marines in the Department of the Navy. Then we put the Marines on an LHD. There's two rusting nesting dolls right there. Then we put the Marines on a vehicle that we then put a Marine tank on, and then we put the Marines in that tank so that they can get that tank from that vehicle to the shore. It's just there's so many extra steps. Or
it was
we
funny
just
dropping off the back of the weld deck, though.
The other solution is other solution is we just put the fucking Marines in amphibious landing vehicles, or fly them in where they need to go. Amphibious assault vehicles, or fly them in where they need to go. They secure the area enough that the Seabees can build a landing strip enough that the army can land some fucking tanks there, and now that's their goddamn problem.
Maybe that's why the Marine Corps was getting rid of their tanks, because they don't want to be Army, but smaller. They want to actually
do amphibious combat stuff, which, I totally understand. And now here's the thing. They got rid of all their tanks, and like I said, I thought that was an incredibly stupid decision. And then now you're starting to see photos of just normal Marines with high-cut helmets and really good electronic ear protection and dual-tube night vision and H&K 416 rifles that have been custom-made for the Marines and really high-speed, low-profile plate carriers. They figured out, hey, if we get rid of these tanks, we can give everyone really, really cool shit.
Which is what it should be. The Marines are supposed to be a small, elite, tactical fighting force that is highly mobile, highly versatile. You drop them into an unknown environment, and there you go. Every branch has something that they do really well. The Navy, we are the most powerful Navy in the entire world. We can just fucking...
Y'all handle the water.
Yeah, we handle the water, and to be fair, we handle the water, and then we could just destroy a lot of shit that's deep into shore, like deep inland, because we have Tomahawk cruise missiles, and we have aircraft carriers, and we have a lot...
Y'all are the slightly better Aquaman.
Yeah, we're the ones... Here's how it is. Here's how the Marines and the Navy work together in this sort of way. The Marines are the ones that need to go into the hostile, largely unknown environment and secure it in the way that Marines secure things, which means fucking destroy everything. When the Navy says secure, we mean secure for sea, which means strap everything down. We're in a heavy sea state. We don't want our computers and shit getting knocked over. So strap everything down nice and tight, secure for sea. When the Marines secure something, they destroy that thing. It's no longer there. It's a big boom, go bye-bye now. But here's how the Marines and the Navy support each other on their mission. The Marines need to land. The Navy takes them where they need to go, and then we drop them off. We're your taxi service. But also, they don't want to get shot the moment that they land there. So the carrier strike group comes in, bombs the fuck out of everything nearby where the Marines are going to be landing. That way the Marines and the Seabees have enough time to build up a base and build up some defenses and be have a level of safety so that they can go out and do what they're going to do. So the Navy helps with that because we can bomb the shit out of stuff that's really far away from our ships. We could destroy entire environments before the Marines land there. So we make sure that your landing is safe. We're taking care of our little baby boys. We want you to have a good time.
You make a nice little paved road for us.
And then the Marines get their job done. We make a nice little paved road for you. It's not really paved so much as it's glassed. But nonetheless, then after the Marines secure the area, the Army comes in. And they send 20 people to do the job that one CB could do. But those people build up a nicer base and a bigger base. And then they build a nice landing strip. And then the Air Force gets to come in. And now the Air Force and the Army are working together. So the Navy and the Marines basically do the first part of the Army and the Air Force's job of make sure this area is really, really safe so that when the Army and the Air Force get there, they can do their job. And then the Navy just dominates the sea. The Navy just dominates the fucking sea. Like, the U.S. Navy is the most powerful Navy.
You're the taxi. We're the ones that actually go. Basically, you're the Uber. How's it feel? How's it feel to be the Uber of the military?
How would you feel if the Navy wasn't there with their fucking destroyers and their aircraft carriers to make that landing safe for you?
I mean, at the same time, Marines would probably figure out a way.
Just throw more bodies at it. That's the way you would do it.
If we stop pissing away our budget.
If we stop pissing away our budget on these stupid fucking tanks that keep getting blown up. No, I'm not saying that tanks are bad, but
that's all because the Marines don't have. Well, the Marines don't really have a budget because the Navy has a budget for the Marines. So and they don't have nearly the budget of the Army. So why are we giving you fuckers expensive equipment? Why are we wasting your budget on expensive equipment that you don't need?
Because we're the unwanted bastard child in the military.
Yeah. Well, half the times you guys just get fucking hand-me-downs, dude. Well, apparently not anymore. Apparently the Marines have fixed that problem. They've taken their budget and no, we're gonna get new shit.
They don't float very well.
They don't float, and unless you have infantry support for your tank, it's real fucking easy for some dude to run up and just throw a bunch of C4 at it.
Yeah.
So now everyone in the Marines is getting like dual tube night vision and just like the coolest of cool guy shit. You can look at a photo of a Marine in like full combat uniform with all of their cool guy shit now, and it's like kind of difficult to tell the difference between a Marine.
One of the cool things that they've started giving to Marines that is kind of hilarious is called the TARD.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Augmented reality device.
Wait, is that like the basically the AR glasses that it's a heads up display effectively?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that a while ago that they were going to be giving that to like combat engineers and shit because it was going to be a way to project the environment that you as you want to see it onto the real world.
One of their working names, I don't know if they've stuck with it, but it was the TARD, and it's just like, oh, you gave the Marines the TARD. Why?
I'm willing to bet the Marines gave themselves that name too. Either the Marines gave themselves that name, or like it was a Navy or an Army guy that developed it, and then they pitched it to the Marines as a fucking bit. They're like, the Marines are just like, hey, this is really cool, but can we change the name of this? No. You don't get it unless you keep the name. Oh, okay. They've removed the D. It's now the TAR, but we all know what it is. It's literally, I have it up here, and it says tactical augmented reality in caps, like each letter capitalized, parentheses TAR, close parentheses device. We all know what the fuck it is, guys. We all know what it is. Don't you try to pull this shit. We know what you're doing. But no, like let's make the Marines an elite fighting force. They're not going to be as good as highly trained as like special operators, special forces, because that's a completely different category. But they should be somewhere in between standard Army infantry and special forces.
Since we're talking about also newer devices they're giving to Marines and everything, let's also talk about the modular grenades.
The fuck did you just say? How do you modular? How do you put modularity on a grenade?
Take grenade, screw other grenade onto it. It's like the one grenade unit itself is like this big and everything.
You got some fucking Marine that's just like, what if I put 50 fragmentation grenades on the end of one?
Look up Marine Corps modular grenade. And you will see one of the videos, the guy has like 9 of them. Like,
it's like when people used to put markers at the end of markers to make marker source.
No, exactly. It is exactly.
Oh my fucking, hold on, I gotta see this shit. Give me a second.
And you put the little like image of it and everything. Guy has like 9 of them, and he's just holding it like a light.
It's called the Mark 21 Mod 0 scalable offensive hand grenade. This isn't even out of a launcher. This is a hand grenade. I was thinking this was going to be out of a fucking launcher or some shit.
No, it's
because the more weight you add, the harder it's going to be to throw. You're going to have some fucking Marine that puts like 10 of these on each other and goes to throw it, and it just like lands right in front of him.
Thing.
Oh yeah, they're going to have every Marine has to go through like a track and field and learn how to throw a javelin. No, this is legitimately. There's a picture of some dude wielding it like a sword. I had to pop this up on screen. Oh my god.
It's like 1 is supposed to be concussive grenade, 2 becomes anti-personnel, 3 is then light armored and breaching, 4 then becomes heavier thing. You put any more than that, is like, yeah, just fuck your tank.
Yeah. They're gonna go like full video game with this, and they're gonna have ones that, yeah, this one's the flash grenade, this is the concussive grenade, this is the shrapnel grenade, this is fragmentation grenade, this one's thermite, and then you just have some Marine that's like, what if I combine all of them? What if I set it so that the flashbang goes off for, we 9-bang them, and then when they think they're fine, the shrapnel, the fragmentation grenade goes off, and then they're like, okay, they're all survived, and then they go to like recover, and then all of a sudden, massive thermite grenade goes off, and anyone that's a white phosphorus grenade gets added into there. Anyone that manages to survive burns alive.
No, it would literally all just go up at once, because every one of them has the trigger into
each
it.
other, yeah.
But the thing is that, I can tell you as a Marine that if they ever do implement this is what's going to be tested, because fucking Marines are dumbasses. I know I'm a dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have one person be like, all right, I'm going to tie this string onto the actual pin. You throw this, I hold it, and then it pings to where we can get it out further. You just have some dude javelin chuck that shit.
There is going to be some, like, it's not going to be a gunnery sergeant. It's going to be like a sergeant or a staff sergeant. That's going to
be a lance corporal.
Yeah.
It'll be a lance corporal.
Yeah. But that's going to have the idea that we need to know how many of these we can stack onto each other before we can no longer throw it outside of its effective radius.
That's going to be a corporal.
Yeah,
that's going to be a corporal that's going to test that. It's be like, I'm taking initiative. I'm going to do something stupid.
Yeah. So, okay, when we got to 6, we were able to throw it, and we kind of felt the shockwave, but we're fine. So we're going to put 7 on there. It's gonna be like, okay, Gunny, we lost Jenkins, but we got good information.
Super cool guy infantry dude, because of how much cool shit the Marines have, and they just got rid of their tanks.
Yeah,
they didn't completely get rid of all their armored vehicles, but yeah, they're trying to transition into more of a amphibious combat force.
Yeah,
as opposed to a smaller army, which I think was actually incredibly smart. There's a lot of Marine commanders that were really big names in the Marines when I was still in the Army that have basically just been like, no, this is stupid and this is wrong and I can't believe you're doing this. But it's like, I understand why they're saying that, because they literally spent their entire career making the Marines what it was up until they started making all these changes.
Yeah.
And they're seeing all of this stuff that they put into effect going away now.
That's also just another problem in the military, like, a lot. I think in society in general, but it's like, I think it's particularly more damaging when it's in the military because it gets people killed. Of people that have been in for 20 years, been in for 30 years, making decisions based around what worked at the start of their career or what was true at the start of their career. And it's no longer the case. It's no longer true. I had some stuff in my career field. I had some stuff where, like, I was working on it and I was dealing with some old heads and they're like, well, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. I'm like, okay, that wasn't how it worked 15 fucking years ago, but that is absolutely how this works now.
So we have that same problem in politics. It's always the thing. The older people want things to still be that way, their way, because it's the familiar way. And then it's like, that's not how things are.
Do you have a fucking Kim Possible ringtone?
Power Rangers.
Oh, it sounded like fucking Kim Possible. Yeah, no,
Two tones different.
Yeah, it's the case, and I don't think some of it's stubbornness, and some of it's like, well, I don't want to change things because this is how I know it, and I think some of it's just not realizing that shit has changed. The world doesn't work the way it did 30 years ago. Combat doesn't work the way it did 30 years ago. During, like, Vietnam era and like during the Desert Storm, I'd say, because Vietnam era tanks wouldn't be quite as useful because of the fact that jungle, but during, like, Desert Storm, it was closer to a more traditional war to an extent, so tanks were good. Tanks worked. We are fighting insurgents now. We are fighting asymmetrical warfare. Tanks aren't as effective as they used to be. You need to be mobile. You need to be fast. You need to be able to rapidly adjust to situations, and we're not going against targets that are heavily armored as much anymore. So we don't need a massive cannon on the front of a tank to take out a heavily armored target. We need something that has good range and accuracy and is mobile and versatile.
Well, not even just that. Like, a lot of our forces we're actually engaging against now is not, oh, yes, this is an actual formed army and everything. It's like, oh, well, after the bullshit and everything in Afghanistan, maybe not. But it used to be, we're going up against an actual armed force. We're more so going against insurgents that are using whatever they could get their hands on.
Yeah.
And it was, okay, well, hey, this dude over here, he's the most he has is maybe some slapdash, haberdash, fucking layered steel armor that he just put layers and layers on. And it's like, oh yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, it's
not, before.
Yeah, and they're not really using tanks, so they're using Toyotas.
There's definitely a strong resistance to change in general.
There's a very strong resistance to change, and a lot of people are arguing that now the Marines have turned into basically they're a sacrificial force that is going to be plopped down on islands. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the Marines what the Marines were supposed to be, which is an amphibious infantry.
Yeah.
Bringing them back to their roots.
Anyway, yeah, so like the Marines.
It almost comes down to like the argument that you get people saying like, oh, what's a better special forces, MARSOC or Green Berets or Navy SEALs or whatnot. It's like none of them's better than the other. They all have a different fucking job. They're all designed and trained and equipped to do something different. Same thing with the Marines versus the Army. They are designed to do something different versus like Navy pilots versus Raiders. Air Force pilots. Yeah.
It's like MARSOC Raiders, their specialty is to go in and fuck up a single target. Yeah. It is like whatever the hell that is fucked. Yeah. Whereas Delta Forces, basically, you just fuck up everything. Just everything. You are the Swiss Army knife of fuckery.
The Green Berets, for instance. The Green Berets, really, really greatly highly trained. But what is the job of the Green Berets?
Mostly saboteur, sapper, like internal structural damage.
One of their big jobs is they are an elite training force. They train insurgent forces. They train our allied forces on how to conduct warfare. That's part of what they do, is they are also trainers. That's not necessarily like the mission set of MARSOC or of the SEALs. They all have different jobs. So like trying to be like, oh, well, if they're not doing this job as well as this completely different force, then they're bad. Like, no, they just have a different purpose.
All have M27s now. I'm sure that there are ones that still have M16A4s. When I say they all have M27s, I know that's not all of them, but yeah, they... Yeah.
Weren't they trying to standardize a lot of gear? I think I heard something like that. Like all servicemen are going to use the same uniform.
I mean, Congress could try to standardize that, but none of the services are going to go with it.
Nah.
I think that the Navy would. I think that the Navy would 100% go for a standardized uniform because of the fact that we changed to NW Type 3s for no fucking reason. For the longest time, it was NW Type 1s was the standard issue uniform in the Navy. That's what you got at boot camp. And then you got Type 3s if you're going to like an expeditionary command or something like that. Which also, why the fuck were they issuing Type 3s to an expeditionary, like to... We were in like the Middle East. Why are they giving us like jungle cami? I don't, because we have the Type 2s that are deserts. We have the Type 2s that are desert camis. Why were expeditionary commands getting jungles?
I mean, my dude, why were y'all getting camouflage naval uniforms? They blended with the water.
That's what I'm getting. I 100% am of the belief that the reason the Navy switched to digis and camo to begin with, when we used to have like Eisenhower's and other uniforms like that, is because we wanted to look cooler for advertisement purposes. It was a recruiting measure. And I think the Navy would be more than happy to share the same uniform with everyone else because of the fact that it's going to make us look cooler, and more, high school kids are going to be like, hey, I want to join the Navy. They have cool uniforms.
Consistent problem of constantly preparing for the last war it was in.
Yeah.
And what they have done with the XM7 is they focused on we can't hit people with the 5.56 cartridge that are X distance away. So they went to a bigger bullet and went with less ammunition so that they could potentially hit targets that are farther away.
Oh, so you still don't...
And there's the thing we just talked about earlier. How many rounds get spent per like enemy killed?
Yep.
Which is a lot. And we also talked about how that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the accuracy of the weapon. To an extent, yeah, if you have a more accurate weapon, you might spend less rounds if you're actually taking the time to try to hit that guy. But a lot of times, that ammunition is spent on suppressive fire, on keeping that guy down so you can get behind cover and kind of vaguely shooting in that direction. So having less ammo means you have less capability to lay down suppressing fire.
Well, you also remember if it's the Marine Corps, then that's where the saw gunner would specialize at.
Yeah. Well, you also talk about everyone's getting the M27 now, so...
Like this new caliber of bullet?
No, I still don't like it.
Oh, okay.
I think it would have been fine if they had adopted this new gun as a DMR.
Yeah. Have a guy.
The fact that they went
That's that guy's job. That's the point of the designated marksman is like
All right.
hitting those harder to hit targets.
Making this new, incredibly heavy battle rifle the new standard issue gun of the Army is very stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really dumb. There was a thing I was reading recently that was an Army officer that did a presentation.
There is also, again, there are advantages and disadvantages to it, right? And it depends on the battle that we're getting in, the next war that we're getting in. Because there is truth to the fact that having a higher caliber round capable of shooting at more distance accurately would be very useful in certain situations. But a squad is not typically made up of a handful of people that are all doing the exact same job. It's made up of a bunch of people with a bunch of different roles, a bunch of different positions that they're trying to fill in. So having like something like that as a DMR and having one or two guys in your squad have that weapon as opposed to like the M27 or as opposed to a SAW or as opposed to anything like that makes sense. Because, hey, Jenkins, there's a guy in a building over there that's taking pot shots at us. We can't accurately hit him. We need you to take that guy out. Cool. Jenkins takes that guy out.
Now we have drones for everything.
Now we have drones for everything.
Apparently, there's this big Marine conference that happens every year. They invite officers from like every branch of the military to come do a discussion at this conference that they do, and it's to like encourage free and critical thinking among officers.
Okay,
that's not a thing that fucking exists.
Critical thinking.
Critical thing. Any senior enlisted person to be, or senior enlisted or officer person, probably not so much. That's I've spent. I'll probably tell this as a completely different story, but I spent like 30, 45 minutes, probably maybe longer. Can't remember. It was years ago. Watching a JO and a senior enlisted guy argue about where to set up tables in a hallway for a chili cook-off that our command wanted to do. A chili, like, it was a cook-off challenge kind of thing that the command wanted to do, because the hallway was like this big, but there were doors on either side of the hallway. And like, well, if we put the tables on this side of the hallway, then people won't be able to use this passageway in order to get from this point to this point. Oh, but if we put it in this side of the hallway, then people won't be able to get out of their offices that are on this side. And after a while of watching this, I was a junior enlisted guy at the time, so I did not want to like chime in. But after a while of watching this, I was like, well, sir, how about we just put the tables in the center of the hallway? And that way, both sides can still like get out of their doors and get out of their passageways, and people can serve from both sides. And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you." And it took that long for them to reach that conclusion. It took that long and a 19-year-old kid for them to reach that conclusion about you just put the fucking tables in the middle of the hallway.
There was an Army officer that was basically like, "Yeah, the XM7 is really fucking bad, and it is not a good idea for us to adopt it." And one of the arguments that he presented was, in all the training that he had witnessed, the soldiers ran out of ammo at their first engagement.
Damn.
At their first engagement, everyone was out of ammo. Because they only have 20-round magazines. They're all just going black on ammo instantly. Because they're only carrying two.
Because you think about that, like it's 20 versus the standard 30, you're like, oh, that's only a 10-round difference per magazine. That is 33% less ammo.
140 rounds?
Seems like a decent amount.
They're carrying 140 rounds as opposed to 210 rounds.
Yeah.
That sounds like an even decenter amount.
It's 140 rounds for more weight than those 210 rounds.
That too, dude.
Yeesh.
They're also having problems of these guns are eating their barrels to death in 2,000 rounds.
That's definitely a bad thing.
Because the rounds are so high pressure. I'm not saying that the round is bad. The round in itself is not bad. It's just, I think it would be better suited as a designated marksman rifle.
Yeah.
And maybe in a different platform.
Because the designated marksman isn't going to be throwing this shit into full auto and providing suppressing fire. The designated marksman is going to be taking very precise and accurate shots.
That is in an MCX. Yeah, I'm resistant to the new XM7 because it is not looking good.
I see.
Also, the new M250 machine gun. I'm going to tell you why the M250 machine gun is stupid. It doesn't have quick change barrels. A belt-fed light machine gun doesn't have quick change barrels.
As I am told, those are important to have.
On a gun that has very high-pressure cartridges that eats its own barrels in 2,000 rounds. Do you know why?
That's incredibly dumb.
Quick change.
Yeah, dude, those things melt. they legit. Like, you've probably seen it in like video games and shit, maybe, but like, you know, in a video game when the machine gun starts to overheat or the Gatling gun starts to overheat and shit like that.
I've
I
melted a
know
50
you
cal
know.
barrel.
I'm talking to them. Like, that is an actual thing. But the barrel overheating isn't like. I think to an extent there are cases of the weapon heating up too much, and that causes an early detonation in the chamber, essentially, because like now the new round that's being fed into the chamber is immediately being heated to a temperature that sets off the gunpowder. I don't think that's nearly as common. I think that's yeah. I don't know if that's actually that much of a common thing. I've heard stories about that. I don't know how common that is, but at the very least, that Gatling gun overheating isn't like, oh, the Gatling gun stops working. It's the barrel starts to melt. Or the machine gun, because Gatling guns, they switch, like, the reason it's a Gatling gun as opposed to like anything else is because it has like 6 barrels and it's turning those barrels around. So they're less likely to overheat as fast. But like a machine gun, the barrel will start to melt. It will start to melt. It will start to deform. And now the rounds aren't going to exit the barrel because the barrel's curved. But yeah, you good?
Yeah, he just finally got it open.
Barrels do tell.
They had to SIG removed the quick change barrel feature so that it could meet the Army's weight requirement.
Okay. Oh. Sounds bad.
It's like making a car with wheels that you can't remove.
I won't profess to be an expert on this kind of thing. Maybe there's some logic behind it I'm not privy to.
The logic behind it is, we gotta make the weight requirement, get rid of the quick change barrel mechanism. That's the logic behind it.
Maybe.
Which is fucked up and stupid.
It could just be that stupid.
It is actually that stupid. There's not a good reason to not have quick change barrels in it. So
that is your standard
now
officer thinking.
I wonder how much weight that adds.
Roughly, if I'm remembering, it's like 2.5 pounds.
Yeah, that is the decision making of someone that was put into acquisitions without ever being on the battlefield. Because I'm not a combat vet, and you're not a combat vet. We both received the training for it. We just never were put in that situation. So what I'm not going to make is decisions for the warfighter. Like, I'm going to talk to them.
Machine gun that you can't do anything with because you have to wait for the barrel to cool down for you to get more accuracy. That's why machine guns have quick change barrels, so that when you are doing protracted suppressing fire or using the machine gun as a machine gun, when you get to like 200-300 rounds have been fired through it and the barrel is starting to glow, you can just knock the barrel off the gun, pop a new barrel into it, and then continue firing. That is the point of having a quick change barrel. So that's why it's insane to me that the M250 doesn't have quick change barrels. When I've brought this up, I've heard people say, like, but everyone in the Army is saying that the M250 is fine. And it's like, the Army has a vested interest in not publishing soldiers shit-talking their new machine gun.
Yeah.
Is it going to be another one?
If you ever hear someone say, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines are happy with the decision that big Army, big Navy, big Marine Corps, big Air Force made, they are lying to you. I have never seen anyone happy with any decision that any of like the SecNavs or the SecArm or any of them have ever made. It's never happened. They are always making decisions that make us mad.
What that means is that it never actually got down to the enlisted. It was only the officers that liked it.
The one time that I have seen like Big Navy backtrack on a decision that made the entire Navy mad was Big Navy, like when I was in like towards the end of my time, was trying to transition us to like a system more similar to like MOS's, because we have rates. Our rates are like 2 letters, sometimes more if it's a special field, are 2 letters that are descriptive of the job that we're doing. And then we have NECs, which are like subspecialties within that rate. And those are like letters and numbers. But like you have Wyman, which is yeoman, which isn't super descriptive. That I picked one of the worst examples, but like that's like a personnel person.
HT Hall Tech.
Yeah, Hall Tech, personnel specialist, a PS, personnel specialist, CS, culinary specialist. You have a lot of shit like that, and they wanted to transition us to like I can't even remember what mine was. I just know it started with Bravo, but it was like a letter and then 5 numbers after it. And if there is one group of military people that you cannot change shit for without us losing our mind, it's the Navy. Because every decision we make is based off tradition. And what Big Navy just said was you're shitting in the face of what they told us is that they were shitting in the face of tradition to make us more like the Marines and the Army. No one liked it. No one was happy with it. Like there was a period of time where I had both my rate and whatever this fucking designation was called that I can't remember. Like, okay, you have both, but new people coming in are only going to be taught that designation, so you have to learn it and blah, blah, blah. And everyone got so mad about it that they just completely backtracked and didn't do it. It's like, it was the only time. Because I think that was the point, too, when you had, like, the Chiefs and the Chiefs mess were losing. Like, how fucking dare you take my rate away from me?
One of those army camouflage situations. 10 years down the line, we'll realize this was the worst idea possible.
I think they're realizing it already. They're realizing it already.
I'm eating pimento cheese with my finger because I can't find a spoon.
Really going to get like actually adopted.
Okay.
Some of the biggest indications for me are most U.S. Army Special Forces teams, and also to a greater extent, Special Forces teams in general in other military branches are still using AR-15 derivatives. They're not using the XM7. If it was really cool and really good, then they would all be using it. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why most SF teams used and basically continue to use Glocks, because they work well. Mm-hmm. Even though the M17 is in military inventory, they're still using Glocks.
There's the thing, too, is like, there was a period in time when firearms were first invented, or first like used regularly in warfare, like let's say like War of 1812 on, or like 1776 on, that period of time, for the first like 100, 200 years of firearms manufacturing, at least that's because there's firearms have existed for centuries now, for like a very, very long time. But let's say like during that period where they were becoming popular, they were becoming the main weapon of war. We were advancing so much technologically at such a fast rate that we were able to make new weapons that were massive improvements on the previous weapon system because of the fact that the technology to manufacture those weapons had increased. We were able to make repeating rifles because the problem with repeating rifles wasn't that like we didn't know how to make them, it's that we didn't have the tools and the manufacturing capabilities to produce them in mass where they were cost effective in any sort of way.
Well, you also have to remember also, like, with pistols being mostly used, they're mostly used for officers, because at that point, it was the officer either had to give a hand signal for whatever move up and everything, or use a whistle, or some kind of thing to where it was they could still engage and still give the command signal to where everyone who couldn't hear could still understand.
Most people I know that served in Iraq and Afghanistan that were like infantry, that were actually infantry, actually doing stuff, were like, yeah, I didn't carry a pistol. It was just extra weight. It was pointless. I didn't have it. I literally had one guy's like, if I got to the point where I needed my pistol, I was already dead.
At that point, your rifle as a club would have been better.
Yeah, you have a knife. And it's like maybe like back in the day when they were still giving them M16s, maybe they were like switching the pistol when they were clearing rooms and stuff like that. Just because again, the M16 long barrel, it's basically signaling that you're going in through a room. But now, like, they have M4s, it's fine.
It would be one thing if, like, you were seeing photos of, like, Navy SEALs at, like, the Special Forces Week that happens in Florida. If you were seeing Navy SEALs running around with the XM7, then it would be like, oh, Zach doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But because they're still continuing to use different versions of AR-15s, I don't think it's going well.
I also, there is a level to that, too, though, of, like, I would say most like operators probably don't want to go into combat with an untested system. Like they do not want to be the ones that are behind enemy lines in hostile territory, surrounded with like no exfil readily available, using a weapon system that has not been stress tested.
Well, that's why most of the stuff that does go into combat's been tested the fuck out, because you really don't want to find out that your gun jams on the 3rd or 7th bullet
Yeah.
in combat.
Yeah. It's not great.
You look at the special forces; they're the canary in a coal mine. Somewhat.
Kind of, yeah. For like what the U.S. military is using, SF is kind of like they're not the baseline, but they're kind of the indication of how things are going to go in the future.
I would say it's probably more so if SF is gonna use if SF is using it, then you know that it is good. But just because SF's not using it doesn't mean it's not good. It just might not be suitable to their mission. So I think there's some truth to that, but I don't necessarily fully agree with his assertion that just because Special Forces isn't using it means it's bad. I think Special Forces would not want to use it because of the fact that it is untested, and it just might not be suitable for their mission.
Like SF were basically the first guys to use high cut helmets, which are helmets that have a huge cutout made into the helmet so that they can wear electronic hearing protection.
Oh, all right. Is that just a groove across the top of the helmet?
It's basically, so you have the normal helmet. You know how like the helmet comes down and like basically like covers the ears.
Yeah, like a baseball helmet.
What they do is they make a cutout over the part that cuts out the ears so that you can put hearing protection on.
Oh, okay.
It's so that you can wear big over-ear hearing protection.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that SF does ends up trickling down to everybody else.
All right.
So, because they're not really using the XM7, I kind of feel like this is just kind of like the M14 happening all over again.
Yeah, if it's not good enough for them, we don't want it either.
It's really crazy to me that the Army basically forgot that, oh, you know what? Being able to carry 200-something rounds of ammunition is actually really cool and fun and great.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm gonna get a call. Yeah, so I just Googled it because I was pretty sure I heard this. The XM7 has in fact been adopted by the U.S. Army. It's now the M7 rifle. So they have adopted the XM7.
Did they fix any of the problems?
I don't know. I'd have to do more research into that. I'm sure I'm sure he's probably done a video talking about them having adopted it. So he probably has a video on that.
Bring that much weight, but like,
it's nice to know that you've got ammo.
It's the thing that is kind of crazy to me about the XM7 is that everyone keeps talking about like, oh, it's really good at penetrating body armor, and you get a longer engagement distance out of it. Yeah.
Again, that's a cool thing to have. That's not something that everyone in the squad needs, because the wars that we were just in were a lot of it was urban combat. There was the obviously long engagement distances and shit like that. There were snipers. There were, if you're on a caravan going from one place to another, then the engagement distance is probably going to be pretty long.
Yeah.
But a large part of it was also urban combat. You do not need that long engagement distance because the engagement might be 100 feet away from you.
Yeah, you don't want to over-penetrate your target.
Yeah. Well,
Fifth rule, know your target and what lies beyond.
Yeah, I mean, there is that, but also it's just the fact of I would rather have more ammo that's equally capable of taking down this terrorist that probably doesn't have heavy body armor.
Half the time they're just wearing regular clothes.
Yeah, I mean, they're insurgents. They want to blend in with the environment, and maybe they have armor on, maybe they don't, but it's probably not that heavy a body armor, not to the point where you need an armor-penetrating weapon to take them out.
Okay, true. Except that I honestly believe the majority of shooting that the U.S. Army does is suppressing fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The majority of shooting that you do in the military is shooting in the direction you think something is to keep it from shooting back at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I was in Iraq, I was told that the average rounds fired per kill of an insurgent was somewhere in the range of 300 to 600.
Which, think about what he said earlier. The XM7, your standard combat load is going to be 140 rounds. That means it's going to take, if it's between an average of 300 to 600, if we're keeping that rate, it would take more than 2 people with a full combat load to kill a single insurgent. Now, they're increasing the accuracy of the weapon, so that might not be as true, but also what he just said is the majority of the shooting is suppressing fire. Also, higher caliber weapon at full auto is gonna fuck your shoulder up that much more.
Not only that, it's gonna fuck up your accuracy because of literally heavier recoil.
The rise is gonna be higher. Yeah, it's again, having 1 or 2 guys in your squad that has that weapon, awesome. It's effectively a force multiplier. Having your entire squad with that weapon doesn't seem like as good of an idea.
Yeah. 300 to 600 rounds fired to kill 1 insurgent. Now, granted, that is an average, but that's because most of the shooting that's happening in the army is, there's a fucker over there by that window. I want you to empty the entire belt of that machine gun at that window.
Yeah. Also, I feel like this is kind of like that whole, like, I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, but that whole story of like, oh yeah, we started seeing all these planes come back with bullet holes all through their wings and whatnot, so we need to up armor those wings. When in reality, the reason the planes that were coming back with bullet holes through their wings was because the ones that took a bullet through the fucking engine crashed. I feel like this is someone heard that statistic of, oh, it takes 300 to 600 shots to kill a single insurgent. That means our guys aren't as accurate. So we need to give them a weapon that's more accurate at longer range so they can be more accurate, not considering the fact that the reason it kills 300 to 600, takes 300 to 600 shots to kill an insurgent has nothing to really do with the accuracy of the weapon and has to do with the way combat is going down, where it's not, targeted shots at that guy. It's just unload at that guy. And that guy might be dead and people are still fucking shooting at him because they don't know if he's dead or behind cover. Like, you're still going to unload because, fuck it, don't give him a chance to get back up. Keep shooting until they stop moving.
I don't even know if he's still fucking over there.
Which is quite literally what we were taught. That is, when I went through combat school, that is quite literally what we were taught. Because someone, asked the question of, well, after, because you get taught, 2 in the chest, 2 in the head. Stop them quick. 2 in the chest because bigger target, easier to hit. And then you follow up with 2 in the head because you might get shot twice in the chest and still be able to keep shooting back for a little while. You get shot in the head, you're not shooting back anymore. And someone asked the question basically of oh, well, then are we allowed, what do we do then after we do that? Are we supposed to stop shooting? Because they were thinking from a civilian standpoint of, I don't want to get sued. I don't want to get arrested. What are cops supposed to do kind of thing. And the guy who was a retired Marine gunnery sergeant was just like, you stop shooting when they stop fucking moving. That's when you stop shooting.
Remember, 2 to the chest, 28 to the face.
Yep.
Shot at us from over there. Everyone shoot in that direction. There's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. So when you're talking about these guns that are, it's giving you more armor penetration and more range, that's fucking great. You only gave me 20 rounds though. What am I supposed to do with only 20 rounds?
Very small magazine.
And again, how are you supposed to really lay down effective suppressing fire when... And they have a front grip on it. They have a vertical front grip on it. They have a lot of stuff, and it's not that much higher a caliber. It's not a 7.62 or anything, but because of I'll say I guess the weight of the weapon, the increased weight of the weapon, might counteract some of the recoil from it being a heavier caliber. But also, the increased weight of the weapon means it's going to be harder to hold it on target and maintain a good sight picture.
That might be why they made the magazine actually rectangular instead of banana.
So you can use it as a bipod? I guess. I remember the first time they had us shooting prone, because we had to train to shoot prone, obviously. The first time they had us shooting prone, it was so hard to line that fucking sight up because of the magazine. You don't think about that when you're playing video games and shit, but it's actually not as easy to shoot from a prone position as you might think it is.
Elevate yourself up so you're that.
Yeah, because it's basically okay, imagine I'm laying down right now. Stach can't see, but imagine I'm laying down right now. And if I'm standing up and I'm shooting at you like this, and say this water bottle's my magazine, and I'm shooting at you like this, I can move this around and the magazine's not going to get any way. But if I'm trying to lay down, this magazine has distance, and it's gonna physics is going to happen. It's going to attempt to occupy the same space as the ground, but physics isn't going to let that happen. So now it's just kind of propped up. So you're shooting it, you're cantering it a little bit, a lot of times. But I guess, using it as a rectangular magazine so it acts as an additional bipod. Sure.
Suppressing fire. Click, 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 click. Hold on, reloading. All right, ready. Suppressing fire. Click, 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 click.
You can have a car that has the most amazing gas efficiency and can go a super long distance without needing to be repaired. But if you only give it a 1-gallon tank, what's the point?
Yeah. I guess the moral of the story is new things are cool, but sometimes they're not great.
There's not really a moral to the story. To go back to what I had initially said, the Marines did real big brain thing and gave everybody M27s, which was really smart. They got rid of their tanks. They gave everyone M27s. They gave everyone really cool guy plate carriers. They gave everyone dual tube white phosphorus night vision. They gave everyone high cut helmets with like Peltor Comtacs. Giga brain move from the Marines. Meanwhile, the Army is over here trying to put the round peg in the square hole, going, why XM7 no good? I don't understand.
That's the moral of the story right there. Marines use the M27, which makes them smart. Army's using the XM7.
Yeah, well, you know, their moral was Army strong, not Army smart.
Yeah.
So it's like they didn't fucking learn anything from UCP. Holy shit.
I also feel like this is kind of a similar thing to like like a story my dad always told me about, like the time period when he was in. I guess there were people that politicians that were wanting to downsize the military to reduce military spending. So let's have less military people, and their big brain idea was like, oh, if we have less military people, but we have more of those people in the military be special forces and have like trained as special operators, then it'll make up for the fact that we have less of them. But again, you're not going to have an operator standing fucking sentry. That's not their job. You also need a number of people to control an area just so they can kind of fucking see everything. Like, special operators, their job isn't to go out on patrol. Their job isn't to fucking, stand sentry. That's not their role. Their role is to go behind enemy lines, kill some people over there, destroy something that we don't want to be standing anymore. Do that. Having more of those doesn't necessarily solve the problem of like we need people to standing base guard and we need people on gate guard and shit like that. That doesn't work. We also just need people to control an area. I feel like this is a similar thing to that of it's just like, okay, we need a weapon that's just a better all-arounder. So we're going to have one weapon that it's still like a low enough caliber that we can have a little bit more ammo in it and you can fire it full auto and blah, 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 but it's also accurate at distance. No, different weapon systems for different jobs. It's just how it goes. It's how it works.
Basically, it's like, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid, dude. Like, you don't need this fancy shit. To be fair, again, would be an amazing weapon for a designated marksman. Would be an amazing weapon for a designated marksman. Because it's towing that line between assault rifle and what's more like almost battle rifle in a way, but not quite. But like it's towing that line between that and like sniper rifle. It's more effective at a long range. It has a scope. I think I don't remember but it's towing that line that a designated marksman rifle tows. But not everyone in the goddamn squad is a designated marksman, and not everyone needs to be. Well, that's the video. Any closing comments?
Yeah. Sorry, Navy sucks.
Okay. Well, you're a Navy soldier, so you suck twice as hard. Sorry. An ex-Marine. I apologize. An ex-Marine, just to get one last like fit of rage from people watching this.
The Marine is the men's department of the Navy.
Yeah. Okay. You're a bunch of passenger princesses is what you are. The Navy's passenger princess. You're kicking your feet up on the dash, yeah. Okay, so if you like that video, I have a bunch more React videos. I also have some of the stories I told on my own. Stach is on a handful of the stories. I don't know if I've reposted them yet from the main channel yet, the ones that you're on, but I know there are a few that you are on. So please subscribe so that you can know when I'm putting out new stuff. I'm trying to put out a new video every week. You can also watch all the other previous videos that I've done and the other React videos, some of my own stories, some reacting to Mikeburnfire. That'll be awesome. Do it. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good shit, and tell me if there's another video you want me to react to. My rules on reacting to videos is I'm not going to do a react video if I don't have something unique to say, if I don't have my own input, because I'm not just going to watch a video and be like, yeah, no, he's right. Yep. 20 minutes of just saying, yeah, Zach's so right here. I'm also Zach. Zach's so right here kind of thing. I want to have a unique perspective on it. Yeah, fucking subscribe, dude. And now I'm going to do the other intro. real quick because I forgot to actually do this part of the intro.